Welcome to the finale of Ghost of Karohar. In case you tuned in for the start of the adventure and you're picking up now to see how it all ended, essentially, the party went through Light Davokar to get to the barbarian city of Malima. There, they had different individual goals, but their group goal was to save the old witch Rosemary, kill the new witch Yavra, and usurp the chief, Halstor. Everything collided at an event called the Carnival on the full moon. There were to be 3 trials by combat for the entertainment of the crowd, the united elf, ogre, goblin, and barbarian coalition that Halstor and Yavra had gathered in order to bring war to Ambria and revenge for the barbarian people. Our party wants to stop all of this. The carnival itself was something that we built up to last time. Everybody went their separate ways and got to have their own individual vignettes before convening at this event. And I happened to have a new work friend who practically begged me to borrow his awesome 3D terrain. So I had a lot of fun with the setup, and the players found this to be not only cool, but a few people said intimidating. So we'll see some pictures of that throughout. Now, let's remind ourselves of the characters who are around before we get to the session itself. Gadramon is the lost prince of Karohar, returned to the city he was exiled from to take his father's place on the chief's throne. He's come very far as a leader and as a musician, hiding himself within the crowd and the band that will be playing the carnival. Mahira, the changeling thief, disguised herself as a bounty hunter, bringing in Seldar and Magnolia, earning her a VIP spot up in the balcony with Chief Halstor and Keeper Yavra, who it turns out is her mother. Mahira has also met Rami, the abducted human that got to live out the life she should have. She has a lot of conflicting feelings going into the carnival. You might remember Lanigan Krim, the mystic, from episode 1. However, Krim wound up leaving the party, going off with his elf love, Lifway. The player then picked up an NPC named Dar and turned him into a new character. Dar is actually doing quite well for himself. He is going to prove himself in the arena to be one of Halstor's Thanes, fighting alongside Rami against Seldar and a man named Erdon Fiasco. Seldar is the disgraced Black Cloak who was sent 5 years ago to forge peace between Ambria and Karohar, and his folly is the event that is blamed for all the fallout that brings us here today. Seldar has a lot to prove to himself and to everyone around him. And finally, there's Magnolia, the ogre bodyguard, who, from her first day in this world, saw Rosemary as her angel. She has finally been reunited with Rosemary and sentenced to fight alongside her in the final event of the carnival. But they may not get that chance. The first fight begins. Seldar and Erdon Fiasco fighting Dar and Rami. Now, Magnolia's player pointed out that she doesn't have a lot to do here. Magnolia is locked up in a living fortress, sentenced to observe all the events before her time to fight, which I was ready for, so I gave her the opportunity to play Seldar's young companion, Erdon Fiasco. And she happily took up the opportunity and played this duelist character extremely well. Seldar rushes in on Rami and orders Erdon to go with him, so they have Rami flanked and are focusing her down. meanwhile trying to coax Dar subtly into joining their side. Everyone else is watching. Mihira is trying to manipulate Halstor up above into something. We don't know yet. Meanwhile, Yavra Anali, the keeper, Mihira's mother, is focusing on a spell that brings back the spirits of Karohar to watch these events, leaving her basically unconscious. And Gadramon is disguised as Buddy, the musician, and also begins subtly playing in certain notes and certain songs to rile up Halster and the crowd in the direction he wants them to go. Back to the fight. Rami is all too eager to take on both of these opponents at once. The stakes of the trial were not set because Seldar just Leroy Jenkins in on Rami. Halstor looks down and says, "This is the aggressive action of the Ambrians. This is how they have always been. It ends tonight. Kill Seldar. This is a fight to the death. No mercy." So Rami uses the maximum power of her poison mastery. The other two are blocking blows against her, but it only takes one hit for the 1d8 poison for 1d8 rounds to take effect. This is essentially a death sentence. But what is also a death sentence is getting flanked by two competent fighters in Symbaroum. Before too long, Erdon Fiasco cuts off Rami's leg. She is down for the count, but thanks to Dar, thanks to Mihira, thanks to Gadramon and his band, the crowd is pushed towards mercy for whoever lost this fight against the wishes of Halstor. It's working. They have the crowd on their side. And then Seldar cuts off Rami's head. Any mercy built up from the crowd is gone, replaced with bloodlust and vengeance against Ambria, and this, Seldar, the representation of all the evils of the kingdom that took their home from them. Mihira further spurns on Halstor to kill Seldar himself, after stealing his weapon. Halstor is enraged, the crowd is enraged, and the chief will not stand for this insolence. He jumps down and orders his two thanes to do the same. He declares that Seldar must die. He declares that Dar must die for failing to kill Seldar in the duel. Erdon succumbs to the wounds of his poison, having offered Rami's one antidote to Seldar, who happily drinks it. And as Seldar stares down the chief, he asks him if he's prepared to face his own son, come back to take his rightful place. Gadramon enters the sands. Meanwhile, Rosemary and Magnolia have been using all of the distractions to break free of their living fortress. They contemplate just leaving the event, sneaking away, and finding some cottage by the lake to live out their days together. But no. Rosemary has another way. Magnolia trusts her, and they too enter the sands. Back up in the VIP box, Yavra has been left alone. Mihira takes her opportunity. She cleaves through her mother's neck. The keeper, the White Witch, is dead. All of the spirits fade, only providing more confusion to the crowd and more rage to Halstor. Both sides clash. In the chaos, one of the thanes goes for Gadramon, Magnolia, the bodyguard, tries to cover him, but Gadramon insists he can take care of himself. He uses the abilities of the corrupted artifact, Guard's Edge, given to him by his father, to replace himself with Magnolia and take the hit and provide a retributive strike to the Thane. This breaks through all of Gadramon's resolute. He is turned into an abomination before the eyes of his crowd, before his friends, and before his father, who picks up his son's blade and puts down the abomination. Gadramon is dead. Rosemary makes her move on Seldar, the one who caused all of this mess. And now that Rosemary sees that the White Witch, the Keeper, is dead, she sees her opportunity to replace her, taking her rightful spot and securing safety for her and Magnolia at Halstor's side. She bites off Seldar's head, and with the Revenant Blade ability, revealing herself as a sorcerer, turns Seldar into a zombie under her control. Seldar is dead. Now, Gadramon had done very well. His entrance, combined with his manipulation of the music, brought the crowd to almost shatter their loyalty to Halstor and his whole regime. They were on the breaking point, but needed one more push. So Mahira takes to the sands, climbs on a balcony, and shouts for them to throw down their leaders, that Halstor as king is no better than the Ambrian queen. It's chaotic. Not everyone agrees, but it's enough that some of the brave barbarians and the elves and the goblins and the ogres that have banded together under the promise of vengeance see that they may have been misguided, see that the spirits are no longer with them, and they see as this promising young new king is cut down. They start fighting Halstor on behalf of the party. But Halstor will not stand for this. He rushes down Mahira and stabs her, leaving her bleeding out. Rosemary begins to see that Halstor is going to be overwhelmed. Magnolia sees this too. They may not have a hope, so when Halstor comes back to be healed by Rosemary, Magnolia brings down her executioner's sword and ends the chief. The crowd is cheering, but already Rosemary and Magnolia have been cutting down members of the crowd when they were backing Halstor. Surely they are going to be next. So Rosemary, thinking quickly in response to Magnolia's harsh action, says there's still one way out of this. If she can heal the last hero of these people, Mahira, they can still get away. They can still align themselves with the people of Karohar and make it out. They can still get to the cottage by the lake. Magnolia brings Mahira to Rosemary. Rosemary attempts a Medicus check, which I roll a nat 20 on. Mahira is in her death saves, and on the final one, rolls a nat 20. Mahira is dead. Rosemary and Magnolia have no hope. The crowd swarms them. Magnolia tries to guard Rosemary, but fails in her final moments. Rosemary is killed, and Magnolia soon after. Dar threw down his pike at some point in the fight. He did not want any of this. He enjoyed the opportunity of becoming a Thane, but all of this madness and war was so much more than the hunter could deal with. So he took to healing anyone he could, and yet the people he healed were killed. He backs off and disappears into the crowd, escaping Malema, never to be seen again. The only one who knows the tale of the party that came to this town, dismantled the chief and the keeper and the coalition. Truly, Karohar is no more. Its people were united, and now they may be together, but in smaller factions, in smaller villages. This is the ghost left behind. Another dead clan in the wake of Ambria's dominance. Somewhere in the woods near Malema, Lifway senses Halstor's death. She was the one who gave him back his youth and his strength and encouraged him towards his true path. Krim is with her. They talk about what has happened and what must come next, and they are not sure. Krim does see potential for these people to break free from this warlike coalition and begins writing a manifesto. Lifway considers that there are other clans. There are other ways to reforge the Iron Pact and unite and push back Ambria so that Ambrians and barbarians alike can all survive the corruption from deep within Davokar, from Symbar. But that is another story. The Ghost of Karohar is finished. This is one of the most incredible RPG experiences I've ever gotten to be a part of, and this finale is probably the best single session finale I've ever ran. But I can't take credit for this story happening. This was not an adventure path written by me, but rather a story that was set out by the goals created by the players and the roles that they inhabited. Everything that happened was a result of their decisions and their actions, and I wouldn't have it any other way. We're going to meet up next week and talk about how everything went. This was not the biggest adventure in terms of length. It's been 2 months and 9 sessions, but it was dense with the investment from everyone at the table, as well as the emotional toll of how much everyone cared about this story and how much we're going to mourn the loss of these characters. But I do want to see what everyone liked most about this adventure, what they liked about the system, and maybe some of the things that didn't work before we look ahead to see if we're going to play more Symbaroum or if we'll check out some other RPG. Either way, this was a fantastic time, and one of the most awesome parts is that I've had a few people on YouTube watching every week for our adventure. Let me know what your favorite parts were or what parts didn't necessarily work for you. Let me know if you have any questions about how this adventure played out or how you can run an adventure like it. But I need to take a break before I chat with my players about how everything went down. Until then, have a nat one day. Bye-bye.